We're going to start with the prayer and the pledge. Ms. Terry Jackson's going to lead us in the prayer.
Bow your heads. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for today. We do want to thank you for the rain we've had. We do have some cities and counties that do have some flooding. Just be with those people as they work through it and bless them that good things will come of this. Be with our commission today as we work hard to make good decisions for our community and for our city. And be with our nation as there are so many decisions to make with our state and with elections coming up that we may make good choices. Lead, guide, and direct us in all that we do, and thank you for your blessings. Amen.
Consent agenda. Commission may request for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for presentation and public comment. Otherwise, the consent agenda may be considered in one vote. Consideration of approving the September 17th, 2018 Planning Commission regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Oh, I'm sorry. Rio Concho West, Section 7. A request for approval of a final plat, Rio Concho West, Section 7, being 1.259 acres located southwest of Stagecoach Trail in Pueblo Pass. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Same side, 7-0, or excuse me, 6-0. All right, regular agenda. Rezoning. City Council has final authority for approval of rezonings. PD 18-03, Spring Creek, COSA. Public hearing and consideration of a request for approval of a rezoning from the single-family residence RS1 zoning district and general commercial CG zoning district to a planned development PD zoning district to allow for uses permitted in the general commercial zoning district with the principal use of campground recreational vehicle park, being 16.36 acres located to the north and northwest of Lake Nasworthy Addition, Group Fisherman's Road Residential Subdivision. Ms. Bucher.
Good morning, Planning Commission. Hillary Bucher, Senior Planner. Our first case this morning is PD 1803 Spring Creek, as well as COSA on this. We are looking at 16.36 acres. The current address is 2680 Camper Road. It's 0.57 miles northwest of Camper Road and Sleepy Hollow Road, SMD number 1, Nasworthy neighborhood. So currently the address that's associated is actually associated with the actual Spring Creek Marina. The PD is actually encompassing a good portion of land around that, as well as the peninsula. The current zoning on this property is CGCH and RS1. So part of this process was to include some additional leased area by Spring Creek, as well as there is an operation there called the Tule Princess that does commercial boat rentals. So that kind of encompass the area around all the docks, the Tule Princess, the boat ramps, Spring Creek Marina, so kind of all the commercial operations in this corner. The photos here show the entrance, not where you turn into the park, but where the first part you see. So it says Spring Creek RV there, and then the southern portion you can see the campers and the trees. This is the park restroom facility, so it actually sits outside of the RV park. The adjacent boat ramps in that area. There looked to be at some point, if they're not today, there was fuel cells. You can see the park road. There's some water standing on it, but it is a paved road, some boat storage potentially there. And then this is the Tule Princess, and currently they don't have paved parking, so that's where they're parking today. So the reason we're approving or asking for approval of the PD is the open space, future land use allows the current mixed uses for recreation. The proposed development is consistent with the PD that we're proposing. Area has mixed uses, but they're mostly recreational based. The area has developed as a regional recreation destination. There are several events that are held out in that area. We see no anticipated permanent effects on the environment, and the current uses are reflective of the continuing need for commercial and recreational facilities in that neighborhood. And we believe they're compatible with the surrounding park uses. So surrounding this is all parkland. There is a buffer of about at least 200, 250 feet between the nearest residential. Oh, I'm sorry, the notification map did go out. That needed to be changed. There were 2 notices sent out that we received none. To date, we are recommending approval of a rezoning from the single-family residential and general commercial to the planned development zoning, subject to 7 conditions of approval. So we will be requiring a site plan for any future development. So as they develop out future, we'll look at these pieces as they go. There's some allowed accessory uses included: parking, retail sales, offices, restrooms, showers, laundries, a couple of things that would be consistent with the campground and RV park. The edge of the campground and RV park must be at least 200 feet away from any residential use property. Camper Road is the primary access, will be maintained by the city unless amended by the lease. Existing improvements may be maintained in their current condition. New improvements must comply with ordinance development standards. Signage plan to be considered by the planning director prior to sign permits. You don't see a lot of typical buildings out there, and they don't really have a lot of road frontage, so our standard sign rules would be hard to enforce. And then we put in here the maximum stay, which is currently in the ordinance, but just to reinforce it, 6 months within a 12-month period, no permanent living except the on-site manager, and 15% of the spaces are exempt from this time restraint. Relocating one space from one to another does not restart the time. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If you go back to the conditions of approval,
Yes, sir.
keep going, next page. Under the maximum stay provisions, the 15% of spaces exempt, is that a rule that's existed
Correct, yes, sir.
for a
Like I
long
s-
period of time, and why do we have that rule?
That's currently what's stated in section 407 of the zoning ordinance. So we just restated it here for clarification. It could be amended, but that's currently what most campground RV parks, their restrictions are today.
So that's a rule that applies to all parks, not just this one?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay,
It's for all RV parks.
Correct,
Isn't that
yes, ma'am.
correct?
okay. Thank you. Anyone have questions? All right, let's open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed on this case, please come forward. Okay, we're going to close public comment. Any discussion, or do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second to approve as proposed by the city staff. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None. 7-0. All right, conditional uses. Planning Commission has final authority for approval. Appeals may be directed to City Council. CU 18-18 WTRC. Public hearing and consideration of request for approval of a conditional use to allow for the lodging of student trainees in the office commercial CO zoning district located at 1925 University Avenue, 3001 South Jackson Street, and a 1.18 acre tract in the J. McNeese Survey number 176.25, abstract number 1641, comprising a total of 9.306 acres. Mr. Fisher.
Morning, Planning Commissioners. Jeff Fisher, Senior Planner. Our next case today is a conditional use 1818 for West Texas Rehabilitation Center. The applicant wants to allow some of the floor space in one of the new buildings at 1925 University for temporary lodging for student trainees for their program. The zoning right now is office commercial on the property, which doesn't allow overnight stay. So this would be strictly for temporary lodging of trainees during their rotations that work for West Texas Rehab. 9.306 acres at the southwest corner of South Jackson Street and University Avenue, SMD number 5, Lane Carter's district in the College Hills neighborhood. So the original building is 3001 here with this parking area. Then they had built a second office building at 1925, There's a permit in for another building over here, and this is a portion of this, approximately 2,100 square feet, will be used for student trainee housing. The rest will just be office space, which is already allowed. The future land use is campus institutional, and the current zoning is office commercial. This is looking west and looking east, north and south. Predominantly schools and office uses already in that area. You've got Angelo State University to the north. You've got the San Angelo ISD administrative building further to the east, and then Pay School and some commercial development to the south. So it's predominantly institutional already. This is the current building at 1925, and then as you pan a little bit west, this is where the future building would be. So this is the site plan that was provided by the applicant. The new office building will be approximately 19,773 square feet, and the trainee lodging area, which is currently for 4 student units, will be 2,101 square feet here. Staff is recommending approval for the following reasons. We don't believe there'd be any adverse impacts given the entire area is surrounded by institutional uses already. It'd be consistent with the zoning ordinance. The new building will meet all the setbacks and development standards. Their site plan shows 256 parking spaces after build out. When you include the 4 new units at 1 space per unit, they'll be at 204. So there's essentially a surplus of 52 parking spaces for future development. We believe it's compatible with the surrounding area as mentioned. No anticipated effects on the natural environment. We will look at grading and drainage at the time of permitting. We believe there's a need for this, given the students are connected to the same facility. It also reduces them trying to find housing off campus and having to commute in every day. This live-work arrangement would be more feasible. And finally, the development patterns should not be affected. Both the lots were already previously platted with direct access to University Avenue and South Jackson Street. Both are collector streets. 4 notices were mailed. We did get 1 letter in favor in the staff report from SAISD and none in opposition. Staff recommendation is to approve this conditional use to allow for the lodging of student trainees in the office commercial CO zoning district on the subject property and subject to the 4 conditions of approval in your staff report. This concludes staff's presentation, and if you'd like me to read those into the record, I can.
No, you don't need to read them into the record, but if you could scroll through so that we can see all the conditions, we'd appreciate it.
Jeff, I have a question for you. So
Yes.
temporary housing, what is the definition of temporary in this case?
Good question. We did create that. So group living, for example, doesn't fit because it's more than 30 days.
Correct.
And transient lodging usually refers to hotels and motels, and it's not that either. So essentially, it's literally, as it's stated, just temporary. If they want to stay longer than 30 days, they can. If they want to stay less than 30 days, they can. It's just basically its own category in the conditional use. So it'd be just temporary lodging for student trainees.
Okay.
Sure. If you don't mind coming up.
My name's Steve Martin with West Texas Rehab Center. We currently have an off-campus student apartment over where the old Kmart building used to be, and right now it'll accommodate 3 students. Well, between our Abilene and San Angelo facilities, we have 40 to 60 students a year, most of them anywhere between 8 weeks and 12 weeks. So the max I would anticipate anybody staying in the student apartment would be 12 weeks, a 3-month rotation. And that's usually their last, they do 3 3-month rotations in their last year of college. And so right now, when the folks come in, a lot of them don't have vehicles or they're riding bikes. They're trying to Uber to the West Texas Rehab in order to come to work, or our people are picking them up each day. So this would just enable us to house them on campus so they could walk across and work throughout the day. It gives us an opportunity, gives them an opportunity to look at us and us an opportunity to look at them, to recruit them hopefully to San Angelo and Abilene to be employees in the future. So.
Thanks, Steve. All right, do we have any more questions for the city staff? Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward. All right, I'm going to close public comment. Does anyone have any more questions before we, I guess, take a vote on this? Or do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve as presented. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve as presented by the staff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. 7-0. Thank you. Director's report.
Just have one thing. I've mentioned this at a previous meeting, but there's a training regional workshop for appointed and elected officials. So for City Council, Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustment. And some of you have been to one of these in the past, and we heard good feedback on that. But if you're interested in attending, it's Thursday, November 8th. We'll send out a reminder email. But if you are interested, we will need to know. We need to register for that and make some travel arrangements. It is a day trip. It's no overnight stay, but
Where would that be taking
it's
place?
in Midland,
In Midland,
and it'll be
okay.
10 to 3. So we'll leave in the morning, get up there by 10. By 3 o'clock, we'll leave to come home. So again, we'll send a reminder out, but we do need to know that and probably within the next week if anyone's interested in attending.
Okay.
And then if I can, Travis, so I attended that a few years back, and so if those of you who are kind of wondering if it's helpful, it was extremely helpful. So if anybody is on the fence up here, I highly recommend that you go down for that day trip. It was really enlightening.
Future meeting agenda and announcements. The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is tentatively scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. on Monday, November 19th, 2018 in Council Chambers of McNeese Convention Center at 501 Rio Concho Drive. Adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.